Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to James Cameron.
I almost bailed on being a filmmaker. It's about sitting in that big dark room with all those other people you don't know, and something's going to come up on that screen that's going to take you somewhere.
I'm the king of the world! Why, hello, everybody. Welcome back to James Cameron 101. I am your host, Eddie Green. Today, we literally have somebody that, because of a previous guest, that's the whole reason they are here. Somebody that, you know, there's those guests that you just kind of accept that you're never, ever going to have the opportunity to talk to for one reason or another. Lo and behold, thanks to the lovely Ed Marsh, who previously appeared here on the podcast. He put me in touch with our guest today. And let me just list off some of his credits before we bring him in here. And this is my first time meeting him. We did have a brief phone call exchange, but this is my first time actually face-to-face. So he is, among other films, of course, there's other films here, but of course we're focusing on the Cameron collabs. Visual effects supervisor on The Abyss, visual effects designer, Terminator 2 Judgment Day, visual effects supervisor, True Lies, visual effects supervisor, T2 3D Battle Across Time, a personal favorite of mine, as well as a co-director on there. So very exciting there. Visual effects consultant, Titanic, supervisor for visual effects on Avatar, as well as a co-director on Deepsea Challenge. I had all of them prepared here. We got The Abyss, we got T2, we got True Lies, all the VHSs and everything, Titanic, Ghosts of the Abyss, which is kind of hard to find. I forgot to mention he is also featured in Ghosts of the Abyss, Avatar right there, and of course, Deepsea Challenge, James Cameron's Deepsea Challenge. Fantastic documentary. So without further ado, let me make sure all that's good. Let us bring in our guest of honor today. I'm so excited to welcome to the podcast, Mr. John Bruno.
Well, thanks for having me. This is great.
Absolutely. No, thank you for being here. And thanks to Ed Marsh, seriously, because again, he's the one that made all this happen. Because of course, I know about you. But you don't really have a big social media presence. So that's sort of where you just accept, all right, well, I guess I can't get in touch with this person.
Well, I just have to say, last night was Jim Cameron's birthday.
Yes.
A birthday party. So I'm sort of recovering.
Incredible. So you literally saw Cameron last night?
Last night, yeah.
That's insane. So, okay. This is the thing that I love to talk about on the podcast. Everybody that's worked with Cameron because and is friends with Cameron, because there's this weird thing where to him and to you, there isn't this legendary. I mean, maybe you understand legendary, but to you, he's just Jim, right?
Oh yeah, did I say Jim? Yeah, Jim.
Right.
I've never called him James. It seems odd. Yeah. But we've worked together, known each other. In fact, we knew each other before. We used to play racquetball. We started playing racquetball, and then at one point he goes, "Hey, I got this project. I need some illustrations, and I have to present it," which was The Abyss. And we just started working. So we were kind of friends and just went into that, and it just lasted. You know, we think alike. Probably he thought, I was a problem solver for him. So, that's kind of how Terminator 2 started. I was, should I get right into it?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah, Terminator 2, I was, Terminator 2 started, and we, and that was going to be, after The Abyss, this sort of digital application of the water tentacle turned into the the T-800 or the T-1000 cop, sort of melting, morphing. If you look at the way it in Terminator 2, the cop, he started a motorcycle and captured a helicopter that was outside the building, and then sort of smashed through the plexi window on the helicopter door and poured in and said to the pilot, "Get out." That's what the Abyss water tentacle element looked like before it was doctored to be transparent, and then that turned into, I think we're in the middle of I'm trying to think how Terminator 3D started. I know it was happening. It had been designed. Design work had been done on it, and then I had a bunch of storyboard and design drawings that I brought over to Jim's office and pinned up on his wall. And he goes, "You know, I've got a lot of I'm working on the script for Titanic, and I've got some problems to solve with it." And it's like, and you know a lot about Terminator because having completed the Terminator 2 movie. Maybe you should co-direct it with Stan Winston. Will do the robot, not anything practical from the Winston Studios, out at location, and everything else in between. You know, it's basically like second unit director, but you know the world really well. And then he would come in and do Arnold and the key actors. But he had to really work. He was really concerned about finishing the script for Titanic. And that's, so I got together with John Muto, who was the production designer. And it's like, where would we shoot this? I mean, it had been being worked on for a while conceptually. And then I went over to look at the cameras, and the 3D camera was two full-size, what do you call it, 65 millimeter cameras with a beam splitter, and they were like one looking straight, straight ahead, the left eye, and another camera at a 45-degree angle, 90-degree angle, looking straight down with a beam splitter in between. And it weighed 450 pounds. It was like the size of a washing machine. And how are we gonna do an action sequence or action movie? It's basically 10 minutes of action. How are we gonna do that? And basically that just, we got Russell Carpenter, who's the DP, and Peter Anderson had been working on it in the beginning. And then one day, so John Muto and I said, why don't we go out to the original location? I had to find the location that we shot Terminator, original Terminator. Terminator 2. And that was in, it was a steel mill, and the steel mill had been, they were knocking it down. They're going to clean it out. It was a huge area, but the actual steel mill itself was still working because it was being sold in pieces. It was sold to China, of all things. So it was working. That's where we ended up shooting Terminator 2. And then by the time this came around, it had been completely taken down and the grounds demolished and cleared. So he goes, it doesn't exist. The location doesn't exist. So how are we going to do this? He says, there's another place. There's a iron ore mine in Blythe, California, Eagle Mountain, that supplied the 80 miles away that supplied the the iron ore for the plant. And then we should go look at that. And when we did, it was under the process of being taken down. demolished, I mean, blown up, and it was completely a mess. And I went, this is perfect. So when they found out that we were wanted to film there, they started cleaning it up. And when we went back, they had cleaned it up. We went, no, put it back the way it was. We need, all the rubble, all that stuff, they had moved it somewhere, so dump it back where it was. And John Muda did a great job of making, we put up some Los Angeles street signs and freeway signs and things that look familiar. There was some sort of overhead, there's giant pillars that look like a raised freeway. I went, well, this could be the freeway. Just put in Los Angeles sign there, the 110 freeway or the, and then it started with, I just don't remember the order of events, but when Arnold showed up and we started rehearsing, first thing, one of the things was I had to do was the chase, the entry into, it was a really great concept that Gary Goddard and Adam Bizar. You'd have a theme park, and then out of the screen comes a motorcycle, comes right through the screen, shoot the cop T-1000, and then grabs John, says, "Come with me, you want to live," and then goes back through the screen. It was all mechanical, and what was really I was fascinated by it is the screen itself. I think there was a slot 6 feet by 3 feet. It just went up and down as the motorcycle went through and down at the same time that they set off a smoke cloud, and everybody bought it. Like then you went. That's where the movie started. So you followed Arnold and Eddie, John Connor through the screen. He stops, turns around, and when you look back, the 10,000 came in, and you also had to see the audience back there. And there's all these little details. And so the first thing I did was the chase, all the chases. He's chasing them. And then when it came to, we have a scene with Arnold, Jim would fly out from LA. Oh, this place had an airport too, the Eagle Mountain Mine. We'd do we'd rehearse, shoot, film things with Arnold. Then in the beginning, I was mostly with the policeman, blanking on his name. That's bad. And then Stan would come out when they had to do any inserts, chase portions where parts, his arms morph into these big spiky clubs, and we would ride this giant camera truck that had a crane on it with this 450-pound camera. And so the one thing, so I had I have storyboards and all this stuff. I don't know how this works on your show, but I've got a lot of material. So I found it all. I was surprised, very happy that I had it, including the cup.
Oh wow! It's clearly a lot. Yeah, you show I'm gonna make you full screen here. I just want to see some of these things that you have, if you don't mind, just kind of flashing them up at the screen there.
All right. Okay. So this was all our sort of pre-production art. Let me make sure you got it. And if you saw this, the only thing we didn't have here is we wanted to do this big lightning thing, electrical discharge,
right?
And then drive inside, which we did. This was the big deal. And then I have a lot of Stan's Winston's stuff that I still had in the file.
Wow.
Let's see. And then Darren Guilford was our sort of designer at Digital Domain. and he designed we call this the Mini Hunter. I guess it's
yes. Yep.
And they sold these there in the store. Sorry, Joe. And it was amazing. And I thought, oh, maybe I'll get one of those, and I never did. That's really annoying. Anyway, so we made these practical, and they had them. They sold them in the Universal store,
right?
And they would hang them from the ceiling, but they were $500, I think, and they worked. And they were vacuum metallized, plastic chromed, and looked just like that. Had little lights on them, all kinds of stuff. And I thought, oh, I'll come back and get one of those at some point before we're done. You know, no, never did.
So
I usually collect things from movies I worked on, as you can see.
Right, right. So are you specifically talking about, because I'm familiar with the Florida version. That's the one I always went to.
Called Florida, yeah. It's fun, yeah, because that was the first one.
Right.
And so setting up, you just reminded me. Setting up, Jim, myself, Gary Goddard, Adam, the group of us flew to Florida before this all started and went to every theme park attraction that was in 3D in Florida, in Orlando. I mean, there was Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. There was big giant dog on the screen, and the screen opened and the dog's nose would come out. And then the dog sneezed. And I remember this because it affected me. From behind the seats, like water sprayed in your face. Like the dog sneezed and got you. And you're like, oh. I thought, we have to do that. And we made all these notes on things that we thought was cool. We went to the Star Wars 3D attraction, every single theme park attraction. Man, did I have a headache. I mean, I think it was 2 days of that. We all got together and made notes on what, even the seats moved and rumbled in one of the attractions. So they wanted to do that. So, when at the very end, when the T-1000, when Arnold blows that up, there's all these, bits of material are floating in front of you, and when it blows up, I mean, it sprays water in your face, and then the seats drop. I mean, there's all this stuff, a lot of interaction stuff, including the actors. This was the complicated part. The actors coming down out of the ceiling, rappelling into the audience with shotguns that were, basically dummy rounds, but they did fire. They did go boom, 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 and the smell of cordite from the shotgun shells sort of was wafting through the theater, and I thought, man, all this is like sense of smell, feeling, and by the way, it was 65 millimeter, filmed in 30 frames a second, and projected back at 30 frames a second, and it was so sharp. Well, you saw it. I mean, when the stunt doubles would go into the screen or run around the audience, they all matched. Everything was clear. I mean, the images on the screen were very, very clear. And I thought it was all very cool, but we had no idea how. Everybody says, well, yeah, we knew it would work, but boy, like how all that interaction was going to actually play, because they had the time. We have, I have tons of storyboards here of, here's what the 3 screens, we had 3 3-screen concept. You know, all this interaction.
Wow.
There were 3 screens around the audience, and they were as they went into Skynet, the screens opened up, and this is how detailed we're trying to get. It's like, we'll block this action out, then we would film it, and then digitally create what was on the screens. And then we had to put actors on the screens at the same scale as the person in the foreground. We had to figure all that out. And the digital crew at Digital Domain did a great job, because when the first time we saw it was in Florida. The first time we saw the first dress rehearsal, I flew out, and I sat in every seat. I mean, left side, right side, front, center, back, to make sure the 3D worked in every. So we took some seats out that were too sideways, and there were like 900 seats, but initially there was 1,000. We took some of the seats that didn't. If you didn't get perfect 3D, it was perfect. Jim was fanatical about that, and then so the very first screening that I went to, rehearsal with the actors doing their thing and people dropping through, and it went really well. I was sitting with Paul Hogan. It was hilarious. There was nobody in the theater but Paul Hogan, I guess his assistant. He was there for Flipper. They're going to Flipper. And anyway, this whole movie's going on, and I'm like, oh, Paul Hogan, how are you? It's cool. Crocodile Dundee, it's great. So when that happened, when the screening was done, he goes, I'm here to represent Flipper. I got to go up against this fucking thing. That's exactly what he said. And I went, oh, you like it? He goes, Jesus, yeah. Anyway, we're getting off track. You know, you must have questions about how it was done.
No. Well, that's a great story, and I remember we talked about that on the phone. Because Flipper is a Universal movie, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That's insane to think. Because I actually like that movie, but why was Paul Hogan there specifically?
Well, we were all everything was about to open. They were all promoting.
So just anything
Universal.
Yeah.
Promoting Flipper.
Wow.
And then we were there, you know, promoting Terminator 2 3D. And we were told by the studio that Terminator 2 was so successful in its opening week, it raised the gate at Universal 40%. Like, more people came to Universal to see that.
Of course.
And I was amazed that it all kind of went together. I mean, we had done all this planning, but you know, you always think, well, what's going to go wrong? And there was a lot of nothing went wrong. Actors would wing it. Jim did. At Van Nuys, we built a mock-up of the full-size set in plywood, where we rehearsed everything, and you know, where Linda Hamilton and Arnold and Eddie Furlong, they all came in, and we had to have. The idea was that to get you to look away from the stunt people that were in front of you. On the screen itself was another screen that had Arnold and Linda and Eddie talking to each other's but they had to interact together. You know, somebody's talking up there, the double here, the stand-in actor was mimicking or saying the same thing, but it was Linda talking. You could see her talking, or Arnold. And that was amazing. I mean, I remember that. For me, Adam was in charge of that. Adam Bizarre, he was great. And then it went down to, I remember having a discussion with Russell Carpenter is like, well, you got to match the lighting of the stunt double to what's on the screen. So you can't see that you can't light their face when they're running up there in front of you, talking to you, and see that it's not Linda or it's not Arnold. And it was very tricky, that the placement of lighting, and it was fantastic. And I'm just glad I was part of it, because I had no idea. Remember, we all went there and we have no idea if this is going to work. It's so complicated. There's 1 million feet of 70 millimeter film that was running. The whole, that 12 minutes was 1 million feet and on a loop, because it had to come right back to the next show. And, you know, film scratches, and they'd have to, you know, do another print, you know, projection print. It was pretty fun. Yeah, I was happy. I'm sorry that it just closed. Too bad.
It is very sad. Yeah, it's the very last one was in Japan, so Japan hung out the longest, and that was really mainly due to the pandemic that took that one out. But yeah, when you really stop and think about it, T2 3D is so unique because most theme park attractions are not based on hard R-rated films. You know, like, this was so unique, especially now you look at what's at Universal. I don't think there's a single thing in there based on an R-rated franchise. They're all, right. you know, it's such a weird, and it's not even a Universal property to begin with. So it's such a weird thing that happened, and I don't know that it'll ever happen again, to like something like that, you know? Right. It's so bizarre.
I'm trying to remember what Jim, he kept saying, this is a Terminator film, but we're cutting right to the third act action sequence. So we're doing a 10-minute film that's all action. There's no time for a lot of character development. Right. But I do remember, the camera. The camera was so large. Let me lay out the area that we shot. It was a 1/4 mile square, and it had to be lit because it's 30 frames a second, and the camera's running faster than normal 24 frames a second. We needed more light, and all of all the grounds, you had to see, there had to be action going all the way, a 1/4 mile away. There had to be explosions. Those are all practical. It was all practical. Roy Arbogast said he used every bit of, explosives available were used on that film. If you watch it, wasn't digitally enhanced. That was it. It was all in camera. And then the one sequence, I did a lot of planning for this, was where you cut to, there's a big, it says fuel repository or something like that, depot. The stunt doubles come in on a motorcycle, and they're coming up this path, and then the buildings are exploding behind them, right there. That was in camera.
Yep.
And in order to do that, I mean, those flames, you can't see that. I can't.
No. If you angle it up, there we go. Yep. That's exactly what I'm thinking in my head. Yep.
That was 600 feet high, that fireball. Wow. Roy, he's like, well, I had 3 cameras set up for that. And he said, I said, well, we're doing this with people, it's stunt actors. So we built a box. The camera is shooting like between a building. I had 3 angles where they go by, And like the person with that camera at that camera position had a detonator. It said, and until they go by, you can't detonate an explosion. It was like you trusted the pyro guy. We had, anyway, 3 cameras with that thing where you were in a box and just looking, and you have to see the guys go by. And if you don't see them, you don't set off the charge. And when you see that shot, that's the biggest explosion I think done in a film. And we had, and the final shot, and Jim just used the master shot, just one shot. The camera's on a crane, it drops down. It's actually longer than that, than you see in the film. It drops down, and they go by, right by camera with bullet hits coming right behind them. I remember Jim said, "You actually painted fuel supplies on the side of the building." I went, he didn't like that, but it's like, why is this building blowing up? I don't know.
That's great. That's great.
But that's all. Everything was done practically, for real.
How much would you say? Because this is another, like, that. I've said this a bunch of times, but this is the most unique, in my opinion. This is the most unique piece of Cameron's filmography, because he is not the only one. I know there's assistant directors and everything on any film, but he is not the only one listed as director. It is right. You, it's Stan Winston. I think Keith Melton did the
second unit. I kind of remember Keith. I'm trying to remember, because all those stunts had to be practically figured out. And Joel Kramer was the stunt coordinator at the time. I don't remember. But when there's a shot where the motorcycle, they're being chased, and the camera, the 3D camera rig is on a cable cam. Cable cam. There was 1,000 feet set up for movement, where this, I don't know if you've seen, they don't have to do this anymore, but the cable cam could drive it. It could go up 50 feet in the air with a guy riding it, and drop down and travel forward or backward 50 miles an hour. So it was up in the air. When the motorcycle would come through, the camera operator would drop down behind them, and then all these charges are going. I mean, all endless charges, boom, 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 bullet hits, and then they get hit and flip over. So what that was, it was a real stunt guy, and the front of the Harley forks were cabled to a stop point. So the motorcycle would go by dragging the cable, and when it hit the end of the end of the length of cable, would flip. And with a dummy on the back, the stuntman took the fall, and then we got Arnold and Eddie pulled them along. Yeah. The second setup, and they were just pulled to a stop. And Arnold stands up, huge explosion behind him. It's all in camera. And it's like, I did X-Men 3. So the opening of X-Men 3, there's a future war there too. And Halle Berry is on a cable, and she's moving around, and Wolverine stands up, and a big explosion, because they kept saying, well, wait a minute, how is this? How did you do this? Is this digital? I went, no. And I laid it out there, and we did it again. We used it in the opening of Terminator. Opening of X-Men 3. I had experience in Future Wars. Wow. So I'm trying to think about anything else. So then there was this transition into the underground parking lot. They're running away, being chased by this hunter killer. And there's where the mini hunters come in. It was digital or motion control? Digital. The Skotak brothers from Forward, Rob and Denny, built this at Digital Main, built this set, miniature set that was, motion control camera would move through, and then we would track, composite the little mini hunters in there. And then that would transition to an actual set in Hollywood, where we picked up the underground parking lot that was collapsed, and all that lighting. I watched this again. What's really nice is you can see this on Facebook. What is it? You can, yeah,
YouTube, right?
Yeah, on YouTube, and it's in 4K.
Yeah,
we cleaned it up. I watched this and went, wow, I can watch this movie.
right.
And all of that, and so I have a lot of photographs I should probably show you. I don't know if you're down the line. Do you want me to send you photographs?
Absolutely.
Do you actually use them on your podcast?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, example.
Oh yeah, that one I've seen. Yeah, that's a great photo. I love that photo.
That's Jim, Stan, our buddy Stan, who's passed away. I'm sorry to say, and myself. And here's, we're setting up when they go underground. There's John Muto. That's the art director.
Wow.
Oh, I have a story. Let's see. So one day I'm out there and Arnold comes over with a couple of guys, his buddies, and he's dressed as Terminator. There's that. Yeah, he comes over and he goes, he has a box of cigars. He goes, there's this Cohibas. He goes, he was a big, he's always had a cigar in his mouth. He goes, these are for you. No one else, just you. You're a director now. These are for you. Oh, cool. And so we finally go. It was Desilu Studios, I think, in Hollywood. I'm going to say Cahuenga. That may not be correct, but that's where the set was. And so he's dressed as, here he is, as the Terminator, dark glasses. He's got a rifle. And when he comes on the set, he goes, here, there's a cigar for you. So I got a cigar. And standing behind, and I'm at the edge of the set, looking to line up a shot. And behind me is the fire marshal. And there's a big line that says, no smoking, no fires, no nothing. And so I look at this guy and I just put the cigar down on the edge of the set. It's a raised set. And I put it down. And then I hear, hey, asshole. And I turn and here's Arnold as the Terminator. And he's got his cigar. And he goes, where's your cigar? And I went, it's right here. And he goes, pick it up and smoke it. So I picked the cigar up and I looked at the fire marshal and he goes,
whatever Arnold says.
With the cigar. Anyway, and then we got back into business. But that image, I've never, it's burned into my memory. I can never get rid of it. Him, the Terminator, saying, hey, asshole.
Hey, asshole. Oh man, that's great. That's great. No, but what I was originally going to say was, because Cameron's not the only one listed as director here. There's you, Stan, and a lot of so it's, what would you say percentage wise?
It's separated by the film.
Right.
The film was me, Jim, and Stan Winston. So Stan Winston was there when anything that had to do with the Terminator robot or any Stan Winston effects from the company, he was always there. And for that, because they were still, everybody was doing other things, but I was the main guy that was there all the time for all the other business. And then Jim would specifically come out and do Arnold and Eddie. But we'd have to fly out. we had to fly from Los Angeles out to this location, and then he got sick. I remember he had the flu, and he goes, and he set up a shot, and he goes, I can't do this. I'm going to go back. And I would finish some of the stuff. But there was just, we all interacted, and then that would go to the underground set in town. Same thing. There was I want to say Sean McMahon. Is that the right name? We had when the Terminator robot is about to shoot Eddie, or it appears underneath in the parking structure. The first time you see it, it comes out, there's a laser beam, and it steps out. Again, that was practical. Sean had this thing, rig. Oh, that was that photograph. Yeah, you probably can't. Let's see if you can see it. This rig was on his shoulders.
Right.
That's the Terminator. It's backwards, and he's wearing it on his shoulders and walking with it, and he's got the control of the arms. He's puppeteering the whole thing.
Right.
It was really cool, and it enters, steps over a piece of debris, and then turns and points at Eddie. Points the gun right at his forehead, and that's when I think Arnold says, "Hey, Buckethead," and throws the mini hunter at him, and it blows up. And of course, everything had to be 3D, so it came up. It was a high shot. The face came up into the camera. It went back down. Anyway, what's the next question? Give me a question.
No, you're great. You're great. My question is from start to finish, what would you say the percentage of Cameron's actual true involvement was on T2 3D? I know he did the film, but was he also at the design elements of the location for the attraction?
Yeah, we would set stuff up, and he would come and improve it.
Okay.
He did all the rehearsal on the Van Nuys stage. I think Barry Goddard did the pre-film. We're talking about the future and cybergun systems.
Yeah,
that was funny stuff. But that was storyboarded, what we wanted to see. And then Jim was at the underground because that was in town. But the stage, it was Gary Goddard team. I keep saying Adam Bizar because that's the guy I used to interact with on the set all the time, on the stage, and how that stage worked. That was just an amazing thing. I mean, we came in, it was already working the first time I saw it, and they were trying to make sure, they were trying to sync up the movie screen opening slot, so the motorcycle. That it have a stunt guy on that motorcycle as it came into the theater on a track. The guy had to, the Arnold character had to take a shotgun and shoot the T-1000. And if you watch close enough, there's a bullet hit. It explodes off the top of the helmet. And then he says, come with me if you want to live. The stunt guy gets on. That was all going to go. You had to do that. The timing had to be perfect. And off it went. And with the smoke cloud covering it up. So that's what I would go in different locations in the theater to watch that piece of action. And it, from 90% of every seat, it was perfect. When you got to the side, you could never see the door open. It was so fast how that worked. It was a brilliant design, and kudos to whoever actually did that. It was great. So all that stuff was working. It was just finessing and learning and rehearsing for all those actors. And there were, I don't know how many, like the girl that would talk, that was pitching Cyberdyne Systems, that was on set that the T-1000 kills. he comes into the theater and then grabs her by the throat and throws her.
She would always
loved that, because she was such an annoying character on purpose.
Yeah. She would always say super.
Yeah, super. And then and that was kind of a riff off of the Disney hosts that would be hosting different shows like that. They allowed, it was just do what you're going to do. But what else was complicated? Yeah, that's just syncing all that stuff. There was a lot of rehearsal, and then the very first time they did it in Florida, it worked. It was amazing. And then there's just a lot of moving parts. People, rappelling down a 30-foot set. Oh, and then even robots, the T-80, the T-70, those robots that are in the set, in the theater, that would shoot. They were that was the current state of technology for Cyberdyne Systems. The T-80, T-70, can't remember exactly. And Steve Berg designed those. It was pretty hilarious, and they worked. And then they, again, even like the targets would come down out of the ceiling and they would shoot. There'd be a lot of muzzle flashes, and holes would appear in paper, and then that's when Linda and Eddie would rappel down into the theater, and start shooting. I think about that now. It's like, that's pretty wild.
Have you made your way over to Florida since? Have you seen what's replaced it?
No.
So
I heard it's some sort of stunt action show, right?
Yeah, it's based on the Jason Bourne films.
Right.
And it's actually, compared to, because I know in Hollywood the Minions took out T2 3D, the Minions from Despicable Me, which is sort of just like, ugh, that sounds awful. At least the Florida one has a comparable replacement. That Bourne show, show is actually pretty breathtaking. I've seen that one. It's pretty wild. So that's the that's sort of the, okay. I mean, at least it wasn't the Minions, But I want to play a clip here because there's a moment in the film that is one of my all-time favorites, and I want to see if you have any input on it. So it's going to pop up on your screen here. There won't be any audio, just to avoid copyright stuff, but we'll be able to see it. So this is where they're being hunted by the mini hunters.
Mini hunters, right?
And there's a moment where Arnold attempts to fire his shotgun, and it like he's out of rounds, and so he uses it as like a baseball bat.
Baseball bat, yeah.
Right here, coming up here. That's beautiful. I love that. Yep, spins out of control. Now there should be another one right here.
Mm-hmm.
That was always one of my favorite moments watching it as I was growing up, because I was only 4 when this opened. So I was, in the mid 2000s is when I first saw this, I would say. And that was always one of my favorite moments. I don't know why. It's so unique and inventive to, oh, I'm out of rounds, but I still have to do something about this.
Yeah.
So he uses it as a baseball bat. Do you remember, was there a talk about that? Was that in the script? If you can go back into
that was there. That was storyboarded. and Jim shot that, and again, it was all practical, other than the laser. We added the laser rounds, but there was practical bullet hits on Arnold. Arnold had to act it through, protecting Eddie, getting shot in the back. He was protecting Eddie, always protecting Eddie, and yeah, it was neat seeing, but without sound effects and just pops and weird things, when it was all cut together, it was amazing to see it done. And it all really worked out. Again, that was always rehearsed, but that was probably in this pile of paper. I have that scene storyboarded.
Now, would you say T2-3D out of your entire list of credits, is that one of the the standouts? Would you say that is, or do you feel like something else is like a bigger standout?
Well, the only problem with T2-3D is people seeing it.
Right, it's gone now.
yeah. And no, it was amazing to do, and visually, I would go to Universal, I would get in line and go through with people. I would do it.
Did you ever pat them on the back and say, "Hey, I kind of helped with this"?
No, but I would just listen.
Wow.
To what they had to say, and their reaction, because if you watch, because everybody has 3D glasses on, if you turn around from the front and look out, you see all these people react. It's pretty funny. But it was just truly an amazing piece of work. And I'm sorry it's gone, but there's and I'm very pleased that it's on. You can watch it on YouTube.
Right.
The word you get out on that is you can see it.
Right.
And it's quite good.
Is there another piece of your filmography? Like, let's push T2-3D to the side real quick. What else is something in your filmography? It doesn't even have to be Cameron related. Are you super man, I'm so happy I made that?
Ghostbusters.
Which also was at Universal. That was also at Universal.
Was it?
Yeah, there was a I think it was a show, like a live show that they did.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a lot of films. They were all fun. The most difficult, and I'm glad that it's been remastered and it's out now again, is The Abyss.
Yeah.
When I watched that the other day, and I thought, I forgot. It's been 20-something years, 30 years. It's really fantastic. And again, that was mostly practical. The only digital anything was the water tentacle. And that was the first time that was a successful digital created element that worked, that was photographic, to a photoreal, and it still holds up. And it's really, what's funny about it is that the water tentacle concept and the design concept that moved ahead to the next film, which is Terminator 2, and that technology became what they used for Jurassic Park, a wire-framed element with this wrapped in a skin, then Jurassic Park, and then that's when after that we opened Digital Domain to do our own stuff. So, and the first movie out of Digital Domain was True Lies. Oh, I'm the janitor in True Lies, by the way. You're
the janitor in True Lies?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
The jet crashes into the building. I'm back. I'm the custodian.
Great. Oh, that's great. And, that when you say that, because I have to rewatch that, because That escaped me. I did not realize that was you, but that reminds me, there's a moment, Stan Lee, the guy the
Right.
Marvel guy who created he always had cameos in all the movies. My favorite, I think, is he's playing a custodian that has like headphones on, and he's like cleaning, and then behind him is all this chaos that's going on, I think, with Spider-Man and everything, and he's just vacuuming. So that's what that reminds me of when you say that.
I got to set up on X-Men 3. They're trying to, the director was saying, we got to find something for Stan. And I had come up with this idea that when Jane, when she is becoming, what does she play? When she's becoming the character that can destroy the world, as a little girl, she has the ability, when she's starting to turn into her character, gravity is reversed and things start to float. Cars float and rocks and stones, and it's like I came with this idea. Well, somebody should be watering the lawn, and then the water from the water hose should go vertical. And it's like, oh, set that up with Stan. So I set him up, and that's his cameo in X-Men 3. he's in that. It's like, oh, the water goes up, and it was very fun. He said one thing to me, because I had met him, known him earlier, because I used to be in animation, and the Marvel Studios used to be on Van Nuys Boulevard, and I had gone over to visit a friend there, and he had an office. Stan had an office, and we were trying to get him, like, hey, you want to let's go to lunch, because he was there by himself, which he didn't. But so he said something. So I said, when we were at the location for X-Men, I said, Stan, you probably don't remember me, but I came to visit and wanted to invite you to lunch one time, because you probably don't remember. He goes, oh, I remember. You were wearing a white shirt. I went, what a great answer. He didn't remember it, but I mean, it's like, that's pretty funny.
That's good. That's good. I might have to borrow that.
Yeah.
That's funny. Now there's if I were to make you full screen here for a second, it looks like an Academy Award behind you. Is that an Oscar behind you?
That is.
What is that for?
The Abyss.
Wow.
Yeah, and then True Lies Bridge Explosion. Where's that? Got to get this back. That's True Lies Bridge Exploding. That was a 80-foot miniature, quarter scale, fifth scale. Everybody thought that was a real bridge that blew up, although it was a miniature.
Miniature, yeah.
And this is, let's see, what's this one? That's it's a horror film thing. That was for True Lies. But yeah, I have 6 Oscar nominations.
Wow.
And,
who did they give the physical Oscars to for The Abyss? Who got those? You and anyone else? Because I've talked to Jeff Dawn, who is the Oscar winner makeup artist on T2, and so you're the second guest that I've had on that I've seen an Oscar in their
lined up right. That's working.
Wow. Okay.
So, but what I find funny is Dan Aykroyd and from Ghostbusters. I said this should have been for Ghostbusters, but that's me, Dennis Muren, Benny Skotek.
Wow.
So
that's great.
Proud of that.
That's great.
Sorry.
Wow. Does it make going to sleep easier at night I'm an Oscar winner.
In the beginning, there's some bizarre things, you know. When you have one, you always know where it's at.
Right. You don't want to lose that thing. You don't want to lose that.
And when I travel, I put it in. I have a safe. I put it in the safe.
That's great.
But it's amazing because I asked the physical value of it at the time to make it was $90.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was told they value it at $90, and or else they say that so people won't take them.
Yeah.
But no, I see them. They're for sale for $10,000-$20,000. You know, I had, in fact, the night I won it, it was bizarre because we're walking out of the show, going to, there's a tent that they have the after party dinner, and people are, you know, if you're walking with one, they're saying, you know, congratulations. So I'm walking. Somebody came around to me and goes, I'll give you $10,000 for that Oscar. Really? And I like, who would do that? Who would say that?
Yeah, right. It has my name on it.
Yeah. No, it didn't.
Oh, it did. Oh, no, that's right. You have to go get it engraved. That's right.
You have to bring it back.
That's right. Yep.
For them to engrave it, so nobody knows who won what.
Okay, makes a little more sense now. Yeah, because I just remembered. I remember watching Jamie Lee Curtis when she won just this past year for Everything Everywhere All at Once. She there's a thing on her Instagram or whatever, and she took it to them and got it engraved, and she's freaking out and everything, and she's great. She's great. Do you have because I know clearly you worked on True Lies, and that's one of my favorite Jamie Lee Curtis.
I directed the movie Virus, and she was a star.
Right. That's right. I John, you have my word, because I wanted to watch that before I talked to you today, but I'm gonna watch that tonight. I'm gonna watch Virus tonight.
All right. Avatar 3.
Ah, so excited for that. So excited for that.
It's almost done. So yeah, we were talking about, you know, what else is out there, what's happening. He's going to continue to do those. No, he's got total control of that. It's quite good. It's quite fun to watch, you know. And we're sorry to say that the producer, John Landau, just passed away 4 weeks ago. Very unexpected. That was shocking. Yeah.
That was shocking. I know.
So we lost Stan, and then we lost John. Wow. Yeah, there was a lot of vegan food last night. It was pretty good.
Pretty good? Vegan food's good?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know he turned Arnold onto to veganism, and I think Arnold is following it, right? I know I've seen an interview that him and
I don't know.
I think him and Arnold are following suit. He turned Arnold onto the vegan diet, and yeah, I mean, clearly there's a lot of benefits to it, and I think Cameron is a prime example of maybe why we should all potentially turn that way. As much as I love my steaks.
Yeah, right.
But yeah. So I did notice you're credited on the first Avatar. How come you're not credited on the sequels?
Second?
Yeah.
I didn't work on it.
How come?
Well, we were living in New Zealand. You know, I was in New Zealand for a year and a half. And like at that point, it's like, I don't need to continue. What did I do after that? That's when I did X-Men, Breaking Dawn. I got all these offers. I did other films.
Gotcha.
And then I'll probably come back and do something on the next this Avatar.
Wow.
But no, then the COVID just shut everything down. I mean, it was amazing. It just stopped production, all production. It was
right.
horrible, actually. And then I call it the Netflix effect. That Netflix, people just started doing films for Netflix that are not necessary to see in the theater, which is for me a disaster. You know, not Netflix and just streaming.
Yeah.
And starting to come back now. But I mean, Jim's in a position where he just makes anything he wants, which is great. I know he's got 5 avatars planned if somebody wants to see the 5th one. But this one and this 3 is almost done, and 4, a lot of it's been shot.
Wow.
All the live action portion. They did it all, shot all the live actions across the for all of them. Mm-hmm. And it was like, well, we'll just see if somebody wants to see, if they want to see 2, and that works. I got 3 lined up. And if they want to see from 3, and if they want to see 4, that's ready. That'll be ready. But it's constant production.
Yeah.
Constant.
And I know he has, there's been rumors, and I think on IMDb, it's listed as in development, a film called The Informationist. Have you heard anything about that? Do you know anything about that? No. Maybe it's just a rumor and somehow it ended up on IMDb, but I think that
well, Lightstorm produced, does other films,
right,
Lightstorm
right.
itself, production. The Terminator films and
Alita. They did Alita.
Yeah, Alita. Oh yeah, and Robert Rodriguez was there last night. We sat together.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. That's cool. Everybody applauds him for his like serious films. When I think of Robert Rodriguez, I think of Spy Kids and Shark Boy and Lava Girl. Those are the films of his that I'm a big fan of.
Right.
They're like family friendly ones that he always did.
Right.
Yeah, he's hopefully he can make Alita 2, because I know that there's a big demand for Alita 2. So hopefully that can come down the pipeline at some point.
Yeah, we didn't discuss that last night. What were we talking about? We were just talking about Desperado.
Ooh, okay.
It's fun.
That's a good one. But before we wrap up here, because look, I appreciate your time, and we between that first little recording we did and this one, we're definitely over an hour here, so I like to keep it right around there. Going forward, obviously, you said that you might have a role in Avatar Fire and Ash. We have a title finally, so that's really exciting. Putting aside your friendship with Cameron, just looking at this objectively, I always ask all new guests on the podcast, what is your all-time favorite James Cameron film, just from a audience point of view?
Well, that's hard.
Very difficult, because he really hasn't made a bad movie.
No, I mean, having worked on Titanic, well, no, but True Lies was fun, a bit hardcore. It's hard to say. The Abyss, I mean, I survived. We had T-shirts made on the Abyss that said, I worked on the Abyss, you can't scare me. It was so hard to do. And then that's absolutely true. It was so hard. Because we're actually filming underwater for real. And it went on forever. It worked out. I got an Oscar for it. But I would say Terminator is one of my favorites.
The first one or the sequel?
2. Sorry,
Terminator 2.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I watched it the other day and I forgot how it was like, that was fun to do. Yeah, but and Titanic was in and out of that. All the planning, I was in the planning set. I storyboarded the whole movie. And that's when, and then I went off to do Virus. I got hired to do that. And so I left mid-production. I had to twist Rob Legato's arm to replace me. That's a true story. He goes, I don't know. He goes, no, really, you should do this. You'll probably get an Oscar. There's something weird about people like getting the opportunity to direct that they just lose their mind. Like, oh yeah, I'd rather direct and I'll do anything to direct, right? And it's like I walked away from Titanic mid-production to do it. And I wish it was more successful, that the movie I did. But
it seems like it's gained a, like they say, a cult following, Virus.
Yeah, it has.
So that's good.
I'm happy to report. Yes,
that's good. So
because it was a huge production, huge. All practical, real, everything. Everything was real, full size.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch it. For sure. I'm excited to check it out. And before I let you go, because I would be remiss if I didn't quickly talk to you about this, is there anything that when I show you this that brings back a memory?
Yeah. So I was directing Jim Cameron.
You were directing Cameron. Wow.
Yeah, and it's like it was weird because I've always spent my time with him in the role of him telling me what he needs, and I have an idea, I have to run it by him, and he'd say yes or no. So I was still in my visual effects supervisor subconscious mode, and we had got to the site of the Mariana Trench, and we were just stationary over the trench, and it was going to start the dive. And I had this idea that Jim should talk about. Here it is. I'm at this spot that I've been for 8 years building a sub and doing all this stuff and studying it and physically getting in shape to do it. And I know it can be done, but he built the sub. That's not a government sub. He had it made. Ronnie Allen, Australian, built the sub in I think Melbourne. And all through Avatar, when we were in New Zealand, he would be talking about this sub, And so anyway, we were at the site, and I thought, I should get Jim to come out here and talk about it. Here it is. So I ran up to his room, to his cabin, and I said, "Hey Jim, I have something to ask you." And he goes, "I have this idea that I want to run by you." And he goes, "Well, you're the director. Tell me what you want me to do, and I'll do it." And that's like, what? Which he did. He came down. He goes, "Oh, that's a good idea. Let's go down." So he's very good, as a being himself. I mean, he's a very good actor. He just completely turned it on, got there, and started talking like it was scripted. Like, here it is. I've been spending, as a kid, I was around 12 years, since I was 12 years old, I wanted to come here, and now we're here. And he had it was a good talk. And then also with that, we had gone to Rabaul. There's a sequence in that documentary that's my favorite. We're in Rabaul. the volcano went off and covered the town of Rabaul in ash. So I had driven out there. We scouted the location, and there was some local, I want to say local natives that were wearing the sarongs, had big hair, and they were playing golf on this field of ash. And I looked at that and I stopped and I went, "Hey, what are you guys doing?" He goes, "Well, this is the golf course. It's just covered in ash." And I thought, how weird. So I went to get Jim, and then there's some structure sticking up out of the ash, and wherever you're standing there, and there's this, volcanic cone right in front of you. And so we came back out the next day, and we brought some cameras just to film. And there was another thing that there was a bunch of kids running around with these sticks with wheels on them, and they were rolling them around, like 4-foot sticks. What are those? What are you doing? Because this is a car, and these are children. Car. Okay. So as we got to the site, one of the locals, this guy, blocked the road, said, "You can't come. This is my property. You can't come on this." I went, "What do you mean?" Because my house is 20 feet down. This is my property. It's covered in 20 feet of ash. And then Jim went up to talk to him, and he goes, "Go get the camera, get the cameras and I come around. I'm going to talk to this guy." And he started talking about volcanic, plates, why it all leaded into why the Mariana Trench is so deep. But he started talking to this guy, and he started explaining what happened to him, because he was there during when the ash cloud landed. And then I turned that into, I found some footage online of the Japanese tsunami. I cut all that together with Jim, by the way. He was the editor, helped on that particular scene. And that sequence was completely made up, and it's one of the nicest, most informative, just made up at the moment, and it's like it was scripted, and he's very good at that. So yeah, that's a Deepsea challenge. It's worth watching. I'm just sorry we didn't find any crazy Deepsea creatures. We found a few, but nothing that's scary.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. It's just a like it says here, it's a fascinating, gripping, and inspiring film. So, I mean, if watching,
I did a 45. I came in there and I had a list of questions. I'd known this guy for so long, and it was about, why are you doing this? Why do you you've got 5 kids, why risk it? What are you doing? And his response, that 45 minutes, I wish he would put that on a DVD as encouragement to others, inspiration. It was really, really good. We only ended up using a few minutes of it, throughout, back and forth, but it was a really, really good session in his cabin that I really liked. I wish there was more of it. Well, we had a 2-hour version that had everything I wanted in it, and then it had to be released as a 90-minute version in order to fit some schedule. So
right,
it got cut down. Too bad. So
no plans for the John Bruno cut of Deepsea Challenge anytime soon?
No.
Damn it.
That would be 4 hours.
Hey, you know what? They just released an Aliens Expanded is what it's called, documentary covering all of Aliens. It's nearly 5 hours long. So people want it. Yeah, people want this stuff. So, well, look, John, I could continue to talk to you and listen to your stories, and this has been seriously one of my favorite episodes, just because of how well you know Cameron and the plethora of knowledge that you've accumulated over your career working with him. So
I got I got a picture. Can I get up and grab something?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
This was a gift from Jim from True Lies. Let's see.
Oh, wow.
That's the jet on the roof. I get it with that collection. But that was 94, 95.
And that's you and Cameron right there. Wow.
Yeah. During True Lies.
That is amazing. That's incredible.
So
that's incredible.
Just, you know, what's nice about it is we were friends before we started working together. So, and it just continued to work out, you know.
Right. That's amazing. That's amazing. I mean, that's what everybody really wants ultimately, is to find somebody that you have that connection with and maintain it, you know. And it's amazing that you've done all this creative stuff and nothing's ever come in the way of it, you know, and caused maybe like, you know, a break in the friendship. It seems like you've held on. So it's
Jim's a great guy. I've heard things. It's like, well, how, you know, he's very difficult. I went, I don't know what you're talking about. I've never been difficult with me. and having directed something, I understand it's like you have an idea that you've written, you designed, storyboarded, or previs, and you want that idea done. And then someone comes up and says, how about this idea? It's like, how about the idea that I want, that I planned? And what I found is when people say that, you know, Jim is difficult, it's like, well, wait a minute, you know, you're coming to him with another idea before you did his idea. Because I would always do that. I would shoot angles for him when I was having worked with him that was planned. And then if I went, oh, you know what? If I move the camera over here, this might be better. I'd do that, but always his ideas first. I did that with every director. This is what you wanted, but I think this is also a good option. And with Jim, always the best idea makes it to the screen.
Yeah. It's well, that's why he's my favorite personally. That's why he's my favorite and why I have a whole podcast dedicated to him. So, but just stick around. We'll do a formal goodbye, but I'm just going to wrap the episode up here. Thank you everybody for watching, listening. John does not currently have social media to promote or to plug, but maybe we can get him on the Instagram bandwagon.
Everybody tells me to do that.
Yeah. Cameron has an Instagram.
I know. I'm gonna plug myself. This is coming.
Navigator.
Yeah. This is with Dark Horse, and we're pushing with the idea that this becomes a theatrical motion picture. Quite good, but I've gotten into graphic novels. I got another one in development. When we're, you know, all this COVID crap.
Right. Is that available to? Is that available right now to purchase?
It's for sale. Oh yeah, it's online at Amazon.
I'll be picking that up, and I'll be watching Virus tonight. So I'm very excited.
Okay.
All right, everybody. Thank you for watching and listening. And like I always say, go watch a Cameron film.